talk about my hometown, St. Anthony, Idaho.
Mm.
Actually, I was born in Salt Lake City, but I didn't live there very long, and we moved back to Idaho and then into St. Anthony. And I always wanted to get out of it because I always thought it was a boring town. But it was a fun town, really. I mean, it was nice. And a lot of freedoms there that we would enjoy. Not be afraid of going anywhere, doing anything. Of course, in those days, you didn't worry about that. And my dad loved St. Anthony. I don't know whether it was because his name was Jacque Anthony.
That's information.
And so I was always wanted to move from St. Anthony, go to a bigger town. I wanted to live in Salt Lake. But we didn't ever live there. And then when we moved, Ray was going to school and we moved back to St. Anthony, I was not very happy because I didn't want to go back to St. Anthony. But then we went to Rexburg, and I was glad we moved to Rexburg. Okay, let's see, what's the next one? Oh, our family food traditions. I tried to think about my family food traditions, and the first one that comes to mind is banana salad on Thanksgiving. That was probably the most prevalent one, and we all loved banana salad. In fact, when any of us girls would invite someone home, one of our boyfriends home, to know that we were having banana salad, my dad used to say, if you don't like banana salad, you can't be a member of this family. And Ray liked it, I guess. But then we used to have always, Mom would always make potatoes and peas, creamed potatoes and peas. And she'd always make a roast. We'd usually have a roast on Sunday dinner because we'd go to Sunday school in those days, and then we'd come home and have dinner. And then later on in the afternoon, we'd go back to sacrament meeting about 7 o'clock or 7:30. So she would fix a big dinner on Sunday at noon, and that was usually a roast, and it was usually really good, and mashed potatoes. Her parents, my grandparents, Grandpa and Grandma Stoddard, they lived out on we called it the ranch. It was a farm out in Egan, and then later on they moved into even close to our house that they lived for a while. And so every day coming from school, I would usually stop and talk to them and see them.
These are the Stoddards?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And Grandma, she was a very nice lady. She was really kind and calm, and everybody loved her. And she always had a cookie drawer, which you would go there and the first thing you'd run to was a cookie drawer. And I never got that because I didn't have enough cupboards here. And so... But Grandpa Stoddard, he loved horses. He was in all the parades with his horses. I didn't really know him really well. He was real tall and he was nice, but I just know Grandma better. Then Grandpa Stone, I didn't know my grandmother Stone because she passed away when my dad was just young. But he was nice. He didn't have much to say either. He was very quiet. But he helped build the house that I grew up in on the upstairs. We had the basement, and then he and my dad built the upstairs part. And then he married another lady, Grandma Madge was her name. And she was kind of scary. I was always afraid of her. But she was nice. She didn't do anything to bother me, but she was just kind of strong, And let's see. What is my profession is a homemaker, I guess is what my profession has been. I guess I was really lucky because I didn't have to get a job to prepare for.
You used to work at...
I used to work at the store. When the kids got older, I would work at the store about one day a week and do title work, which was fun. I enjoyed doing that. The happiest time of my life was probably when I was raising my kids, when they were young, up to maybe teenage time for them. But my kids were good. I had no problems with them with teenagers at all. Let's see. Of course, the love of my life is Ray, that guy right there. And we met when we were young, when I was young, and we've been married 65 years, right?
Yes.
65 years. Oh, goodness. He put up with me for a long time, huh? My favorite hobby probably was sewing and knitting. I probably liked that more than anything. I used to do a little ceramics, stuff like that, but through the years, I used to sew for a lot of people and to make extra money. I don't really have any regrets except that I wish I'd have gone to college. And I should have gone to college after the kids got older. I could have right in Rick's college. But I was always afraid I wouldn't pass. I was thinking I would be too dumb and I couldn't do college. So.
What would you study?
Huh?
What would you study?
Oh, at that time in my life, I don't know. I don't know. I did take some college extra classes, on their, what I don't know what they call it now, continuing education. But they were just fun classes. I took a tailoring class and made a tailored suit.
I've heard that class is really hard.
It was pretty hard, and it was fun though. I really learned a lot. Really learned a lot in sewing. And then I took calligraphy. I took some other fun things like that. I didn't take anything that was. Yes, I do believe in prayer. One of my most spiritual experiences, I guess, was when I was young. I don't remember what age I was for sure. I think I was probably in junior high age, and I was having a lot of kidney stones, and I'd end up in the hospital trying to pass a kidney stone, and it was really painful, very painful, almost as bad as having a baby, and maybe worse.
At age like 13 to 15?
Junior high. I can't remember what age it was, but soon after, during that time, it seemed like I passed out, or I don't know what actually happened, but I was having the pain and everything, and so my dad called the bishop down to give me a blessing, and I was up in my bedroom laying in bed, and they gave me a blessing, and it was like I was watching from on high, them giving me the blessing, and it was very spiritual for me to hear them give that blessing, and I was watching it, and then when they finished, then I was back awake, and it was just interesting to me because I thought I was like watching from above. And then another one was my dad. I don't know how old he was, but he had swallowed a chicken bone.
Oh.
And he couldn't breathe, and he was gasping for air, and so my mom, we weren't far from the hospital, and I think she hurried and drove him down to the hospital, and there was a nurse there that he knew very well, good friends, and she helped him and the doctor, but he had aspirated into his lungs, and he had a hard time coming out of that, and so we had the ward there had a big family and ward fast and prayer for him, and so that was a spiritual experience because of that, and he was saved and lived from that. It was very close, I guess, that he didn't make it. Let's see, I think I went through most of those. You got any others then you want to ask?
So is that the 15 questions then?
Yeah.
Okay, so then there's also the 52 questions if you want to look through those.
Oh, and they're on my what? My full name actually is Jacque Loveland, and I kind of made it Jacqueline Loveland because I liked it better. I was born in Salt Lake. I said that. My mother's name was Beatrice, and I think I read the story that she was born during they used to grow sugar beets, and she was born during the harvest or something, so they called her Beatrice. I don't know whether that's true or not. But some of my family members have died, actually. I have my mom and dad and 2 of my sisters. I come from a family of 6 girls, and there are 2 of them that have passed away with health problems, and they were quite young. Any hardships or tragedies our family experienced were probably just trying to make a living, because it was pretty hard then. I remember I was very careful to make sure that I didn't waste anything, you know.
Yeah.
I remember one time I had this green winter coat. It was wool. And as we come into our basement house, we'd walk down the steps, and there was a furnace and a little kind of a playroom or just an extra room, in the furnace room, and we'd go then into the kitchen of our home. But so we'd go out, and sometimes after we go out playing in the snow and stuff, I'd go put my coat near the furnace to keep it warm and get it warmed up again, you know, because it was all wet and snowy. And one time I burnt it, and my dad was very upset because it took a lot of money to buy that coat. And I just remember him being upset over that. And, there was something else I was going to say. I can't remember though now what that was. My aunts and uncles, I knew more of my mom's family than I did my dad's. And I used to go stay with my uncle and his wife, Frank and Donna Stoddard, and they had a farm in Grace, Idaho. And we used to go down there. Lucille and I used to go down there and stay. First of all, when we first went, they were working at a place in Idaho Falls. And so Aunt Donna would take us to these ceramic places where you could paint ceramics. And it was fun. And then they moved to Grace, and so we went to Grace a couple of years and stayed there. And it was fun to be with them, and I always really liked them after that. You know, we got really close to them. My favorite subjects in school were probably English literature. Then after I got into the office work, I had shorthand. I loved shorthand, and I was really good at it, and I'm not bragging. But
it's okay to brag.
I won. They used to have a contest every year in the spring at the Rick's College, and you'd go in a room, and someone would transcribe a letter to you, and you would write it in shorthand, and then you'd have to go where you were with a typewriter and transcribe it and get it all correctly punctuated and everything on the letter, and I won that contest. I won $50.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that was fun. And that was one of my favorite subjects, was shorthand and the office stuff. I did like history. In high school, those were the classes I liked. Some of the medical issues I've had was I got my dad's heart issues and my mom's arthritis. So I'm dealing with that. We were members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I had quite a few different jobs in the church that I really enjoyed. One of them was being a blazer leader to my sons, which was one of the funnest. And then I loved working in the young women. I was a Laurel leader. And then I was a Relief Society president in the ward. which was stressful for me because I felt like I wasn't doing enough, and we had a lot of elderly people in the ward, and I tried to visit them and everything. And then I was called up on campus to be a counselor in the State Relief Society for about 2 years. And then after that, I was called as the State Relief Society president on campus, and that was one of my favorite jobs. Oh, I also was a State Young Women president. I went to girls' camp and loved girls' camp with the girls.
You have chickens in your yard.
Mm-hmm.
You have chickens?
What?
We have chickens.
Oh, we have chickens.
We have chicken visitors. Sorry to digress.
That must be my neighbors, huh? I've not seen chickens out here before.
The wind must have blown open the gate.
I bet they did. Darn. I hope they know their way back home.
They probably will.
What was it?
Chickens.
Oh, for its sake.
Oh, let's see. We have 4 children. Natalie Loveland Bell. She's always been a special daughter. She's always been kind and really never gave us any problems at all. Then Camille Loveland Karchner, and she was this feisty one. But not that bad, you know. And she had a lot of friends, and they did a lot of fun things. And
But never really got into trouble?
no, she never got into trouble either. Then there was Mitch, and he didn't really get into trouble. Mitch Loveland, Mitch Ray, and he did not really get into any bad problems at all. Do you remember Mitch having any problems? I think your grandpa went in to find him one night because he was out too late. But I don't remember any other things. And Blake J. Loveland, and he was no problem at all. He was a good kid. Blake and I used to share a lot of conversations together. I don't know whether, maybe it was when Mitch had left on his mission and he was just the only one home. We used to talk a lot, and he used to like to cook. And he was just an easy kid. They all worked out at the store for the Stones during their high school days, and that, I'm sure, helped them to decide what they wanted to do in their lives. Some of these I really can't answer that well. What are 50 things I'm grateful for?
You don't have to
That's
listen.
a lot of things.
You don't.
I'm grateful for most normal things. You know, our family, we've had good health actually with our family and our kids, and some few health problems, but nothing too serious. In my leisure time, I like to crochet, to knit. Or Grandpa and I used to go for rides all the time. We'd get a Pepsi and go for a drive up in the country. Well, I should have got these read this morning before I
should have sent them to you earlier. I'm sorry.
We used to travel a lot. Ray would win some trips with a Toyota, usually, company, and then we did a Chrysler one time too. We went to England, Portugal, Switzerland, France, Italy, and Canada, and Hawaii, and Japan. So we went a lot of places. And we loved to travel, and it was fun. We didn't take they were trips that you were just one with the dealership. You didn't take your families. You went on a tour with this company that, with the Toyota company. So I always regret that we didn't take more trips with our kids. We didn't, our memorable vacations were those vacations. As a family, we didn't really take a lot of vacations because it was hard for him to get away from the store when we were moved to Rexburg and started trying to get the store going. One trip we did take, which was a lot of fun, was Dad in the St. Anthony store used to sell travel trailers, you know, and they were nice. Not real big, but not trailers. It was like a motorhome, but not that big. It was just small. But you drove, you know. And so there was room for everybody to sleep, except someone had to sleep on a mattress on the floor, in the narrow floor, you know. But there were 4 of us. There were the 4 kids that we took, and we went up to Vancouver Island in Canada, and we got on a ferry boat and went from Vancouver, Canada, over to Vancouver Island, and it was really fun. And we got off the ferry boat and found a trailer park to park the trailer for the first night. And it was a big grassy area, and we had a small football, I guess the boys brought, and so they all played football out on the grass, and it was really fun. And we went to Vancouver Island, and it was fun. We went to the gardens there, Bouchard. What is it called? I can't remember. Bouchard Gardens, and it was beautiful, and we really enjoyed that. And so we started home, and we spent, well, that was in October because we spent Mitch's birthday. We decided we'd go sleep in a motel so everybody'd have bigger beds, you know. And so we slept in a motel and got a birthday cake for Mitch we bought at the store. And then we started on, and we was going to go on down the coast. And after we got off of the ferry, we all got seasick. And we were all feeling really nauseous and everything. And all the kids said, I don't want to go anymore. You know, teenagers, they wanted to go home. So we stopped, and after that, where were we there? We went and decided not to go on down the coast, and then just went and headed back home. And then I always wish we'd had gone on farther and not, you know, we'd get over the car sickness after a while, or the sickness on the ferry. We didn't have too many pets growing up. My dad had a dog named Kino. He liked that dog. And then we had a couple of dogs. When the kids were growing up, I think Mitch named this one Tiny or something like that. I don't know. It was just a little, I don't know, black dog. And then we had another dog, and we called it LeBaron, and he got run over. And that's about the only time. Oh, we did have somebody left out at the store or something, a great big white, like I don't know what kind of a dog it would be, but it was great big, about this tall and beautiful white thing, you know. So we took it home. We couldn't find who it was, but so we went to a parade one morning. It must have been the 4th of July because it was in Rexburg. And we called him Mickey, was his name. And we took him with us, and then we took him back home and tied him up in the backyard. And because we didn't have a dog house or anything, you know, because we just got this dog. And then we went over to the park or something where they were having a picnic thing, you know. And when we come back home, he was gone. And we felt so bad. But he was a great big, like an Alaska dog, you know. It was really big. He was really big and pretty. So that was about the only animals that we had.
Did Dad ever have a pony?
Oh, yes, they did have a pony. And I don't remember the name. You'd have to ask your dad. They did, and he was kept out at the store in a fence, actually where the damn studio is now. And the boys used to go out and they'd ride it and they'd feed it. And I think I remember Mitch telling this story where it got loose, and he got I think they finally caught him clear over on where East Main Street, across from the Maverick, out in that area. I think they finally caught him. Because they always wanted a horse. But they did, I didn't take care of it too much. Ray did most of that. Oh, let's see. Well, I can't think of anything else. Can you think of anything that I haven't said?
What advice would you give to your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren?
Oh.
Or what's something that you wish you had known at our age?
No, I think it would be my advice would be good to keep close to the gospel, keep close to the Savior, and build a relationship with Him. Don't get into debt really badly, things like that. Just be cautious and I guess that's all.